You're listening to the Ask Drone U podcast. You ask, we answer your drone questions. Whether you're here to turn your passion into profit or you simply fly for fun, we're a community of learners and teachers who aspire to achieve greatness. We are
Drone U.
Hey everyone, welcome to another fun episode of Ask Drone U. Thank you. I mean it. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the insight. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for your questions. Thanks for your advice. You know who you are. And overall, we just really appreciate you, because if it weren't for you, well, we wouldn't be here. So thank you very much. My name is Paul. You probably gathered that already.
Well, we can't disappoint and not say it.
That is true.
That would just throw everything off.
Indeed, Rob. Indeed. Oh, man. Finally, I used it back at you. 1,000 episodes later.
Done. That's right. Very well done. And of course, I'm Rob. And yes, everything he just said. Hope you're having a great day.
Really do hope you are having a great day today. We're going to be talking, we talked a little bit about in one of the episodes about not using GCPs, and it seems like GCPs are a problem for some people who are trying to break into the mapping industry. And I totally understand that, as my favorite store who used to rent GPS equipment no longer does it. Holman's. Why? Makes no sense. You had the military contract. I don't get it. Anyway.
Don't know.
So in an effort to try to find some other rental equipment, I noticed that it's not as cheap in other places. But today's question is more about overlaying existing surveys, plotline surveys, Alta surveys. I'm not sure what kind of surveys they have in Trinidad, but I think it's so cool that they're using mapping in another country on an island in South America to do mapping. That's awesome.
It is, yeah.
So awesome.
A lot of fun to hear from folks from all over the world.
Even better to have an opportunity to try to help. So let's do this.
Hi guys, my name is Elan. I'm calling in from Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean. Love your show, love your content, keep up the great work. My question today comes from measurements in mapping. And I wanted to know if you already know the dimensions of, let's say, a piece of land that you would like to map. So somebody has already surveyed it however long ago, and you already have the external dimensions of that piece of land. Would it be possible to input those dimensions into Pix4D after you've flown your mission and be able to pull measurements from the map without the need for GCPs? Thanks very much, guys. Take care.
Elan, I think I said that right. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the question. I think it's a good question.
It is. It's kind of a different take to the question.
Surprised we haven't had it up to this point, frankly.
I will say it's also really interesting how people pronounce their names. I think it's so cool how there's just so many different names in this world. You grow up in America and you think we have cool names. I'm like, no, name's not cool.
Rob.
I mean, there are some names out there. I'm like, that is so sick. I'm like, I wish my name was like that.
Actually, I think my kids from Africa's names are pretty sick, if I do say so myself.
I'm just saying. I met some people. I'm like, what's your name? And I'm like, that's cool.
Very. Yeah, it's fun.
Anyway, okay. So can he do this without GCPs? Couple ways. Again, not going to be the most accurate way to do it. I really think that you're going to need GCPs, but can you do this? Yes, you're going to have to take some extra steps. You may encounter some problems and most likely won't be as accurate as having GCPs. But let's go. Yes, what?
I just want to make sure I understand the question. I'm understanding this as he's not even suggesting to fly whatever he's trying to measure, right? He's just taking existing measurements, plugging them into the software, and using that to pull out whatever measurements they want to get for that plot of land. Am I misunderstanding that? I don't even hear any flying involved in this.
Maybe we should play the question again. This will be the first time in 931 questions that we haven't played the question twice. I think it's worth it this time.
All right, well, let's do it. Fortunately, it's a relatively short one.
Hi guys, my name is Elan. I'm calling in from Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean. Love your show, love your content, keep up the great work. My question today comes from measurements in mapping. And I wanted to know if you already know the the dimensions of, let's say, a piece of land that you would like to map. So somebody has already surveyed it however long ago, and you already have the external dimensions of that piece of land. Would it be possible to input those dimensions into Pix4D after you've flown your mission and be able to pull measurements from the map without the need for GCPs? Thanks very much, guys. Take care.
Okay.
All right.
I am
So
standing corrected.
it's okay.
So maybe you can even explain how that even would work. Maybe
If
that's
it
what
were-
you're going to do.
Okay, so there are some people that I know in the surveying world that will fly an area and utilize an existing plot survey and input the lines of the plot survey as scale constraints. So
Okay.
essentially, they will go ahead and they will mark a manual tie point from one edge of the measurement to the other edge of the measurement. And then essentially, instead of creating a polyline, they'll create a scale constraint and correct. So let's say that... let's say that these lines that he has, the survey that has already been done, let's say that there was a structure on this survey, and for his sake, I'm hoping that there is because it's going to vastly decrease the amount of work. If he has the information from the survey as far as, let's just say the plot of land that structure is on, and he knows the external measurements of that structure, he could use those external measurements in his map as scale constraints. He would need to make sure that he has, if he really wants to get the accuracy out of this thing without GCPs, he's going to need multiple scale constraints on multiple axes. So he's going to need probably 2 scale constraints on the x-axis, 2 scale constraints on the y-axis, and maybe even 2 scale constraints on the z-axis, the elevation axis. And since he's in Trinidad, we're northing easting, he could be easting northing, which is essentially XY versus, XYZ versus YXZ. And typically he's going to be the opposite of America, like everyone else in the world. So it'll probably be YXZ instead of XYZ. But that being said, if he enters those scale constraints in his map, he can still probably get other linear measurements in the map itself. Again, I would question the reliability, of this. Is it possible? Or if you're forced in a situation to do it, can you do it? I think the answer is yes. The more scale constraints, the better. I would have those scale constraints within 500 feet of one another. So if your map goes beyond 500 feet from a scale constraint, I would probably try to get as many scale constraints as possible to put in your map, because you'll still get more relative error further away from those scale constraints if you have a very large map. By the way, I love your hms and haws. I really appreciate the feedback.
No, I'm really thinking about it. Because I haven't done the mapping that you've done, obviously, and seen this all in practice. And so for me, it's a different perspective, obviously.
So, all right. So let's take this for example. I'm going to close my computer because it's dead anyway, and put everything that's on my desk right in front of me. So if you're listening on the show, we have 2. Yep, there's 2. I just separated them. 2 tables about 3 feet wide by 2 feet long, each of them. I've got a computer in front of me with a Part 107 Drone Certificate Study Guide, my iPhone 10, and a Sony remote, the RM. It doesn't matter. Here's the thing. If this were my structure in the map and I knew that this length was 9 inches and this length was 13 inches, right? Everything on this table, if I had a z-axis scale constraint as well, everything on this table would probably be fairly accurate. And I say fairly accurate, meaning 3 to 4 times GSD, okay?
Meaning if you knew this, you could also measure something out here?
Yes, like the edge right here.
Right.
Where that's going to be a problem is if I wanted to measure your computer and, your structure, computer structure, and I wanted to get linear measurements, and this structure and that structure were more than 500 feet from each other, chances are it's not going to be as accurate.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Okay? So, without GCPs, you really, 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 really inhibit accuracy. I mean, on the X and Y axis, you could probably get within a meter.
That's really interesting, given that you actually already have survey grade data.
True, but if you understood as a surveyor just how often that data is off because of just human error, I mean, Jason is seeing that I think it's 3 in 10 surveys are wrong because of human error. So, I mean, he could just the thing is that oftentimes drone data can be validated with traditional data, and oftentimes drone data can also say, well, yes, the core measurements are correct, but the easement measurements are off, and it cut off this corner because the surveyor was lazy and couldn't find the pin. So it can go both ways.
Sure.
Now, since he has those known measurements, it's definitely going to help. I'm curious how he's going to get the z-axis measurements. And again, if there's an existing survey with a structure on it, a lot easier to get other linear measurements from that map than if it's just, what is it called? Than if it's just a plot line survey.
Yeah, just the land.
The other thing, too, is that if he has these existing measurements and he were to throw out a 50-foot measuring tape going one way and a 50-foot measuring tape going the other way, he should put that in his map and use those as added scale constraints to further his accuracy, because accuracy is extremely difficult without some georeference point in the map.
Yeah.
Very difficult. So
very interesting.
Sorry.
So I actually expected that to be a more, you can do that, no problem. But it's just it's very complicated stuff.
It really is, and that's why I tell people, like, you guys have got
statement.
You have got to come to these mapping classes if you fully want to understand the information and systems necessary to acquire, process, clean up, and deliver maps.
Particularly if you think about people are actually digging into this in this kind of depth, and they're going to be able to get that kind of accuracy and know how to do that. And if you don't know how to do that, you're going to be behind the 8 ball.
Bingo.
All right. I mean, that's just the way it's going to be.
Bingo. Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. Gosh. It's a really good point. So, long and the short of it, can you do it? Yes, you probably can. Do you want to do it? Not really. If you have any alternative, use GCPs. If you're going to do it, I would recommend at least 2 scale constraints per axes. I would also recommend laying the tapes out, a tape measure, and say, oh, this is 30 meters. Okay, I know it's 30 meters. That's probably a massive tape measure, maybe a 10-meter tape measure. Yeah. I don't buy tape measures outside of the United States, so I'm not familiar what sizes they come in.
Right. 50-foot tape measure is fairly unusual in and of itself, right?
I'm sure.
Yeah. 30 foot's usually about what you find.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're out there.
But. So what is that, 10 meters? Ish.
Mm-hmm. Ish.
Here's a 10-meter tape, my friend.
Yep.
I'd be like, what do I do with this?
What's the conversion ratio?
But so anyway, I would say if you're in a last case scenario, can you get measurements? Yes. What I would do is I'd process my map, and I would make all my polylines and set them as scale constraints with the known numbers from the existing survey. And then I would create a polyline over my known scale constraints, like the tape measures, right? And then see what that measurement comes out to be. Right? If you mark the MTP in, let's say, 4 or 5 images, just to make sure that you have a better quality measurement, and then second MTP, 4 to 5 images, draw the polyline between them. And if you know that's 10 meters, because it's a 10-meter tape, and it's showing you 11.4, then you know the accuracy of your map is probably not going to be good enough the way that you're doing it. So that's a great,
pretty easy test.
Yeah, it's a good way to kind of spot check it too.
Yeah.
But again,
well, that's why we put those on the. That's finally coming to me. On the landing pads, right? That's why we have the measurements on the landing pads, that you can take those kinds of measurements to test your accuracy.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
See how the value just increases with every mapping
landing pad prices are going up because Rob understands. No.
Would you mind adding the landing pad link to this show in case? Maybe we should send one to Tobago as a gift just to say you're cool.
Yeah, so, seriously.
Anyway, send us your address, my friend. That is going to do it for us today. I'm really this was a great question. If you have a question, go to askdroney.com. Don't be afraid to ask simple questions, hard questions. We're all human. We're all learning. If you're like me, you could learn something 5 years ago, completely forget about it, and then realize, that is a really good point.
Yeah.
Did I say 5 minutes ago or 5 years ago?
No, you said 5 years. I said 5 minutes.
Oh, I'm guilty of that too, Rob.
That's, my constraint. Anyways. Very cool. Thanks, Elan, for the question. Appreciate it. AskDroneU.com for your question.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. By the way, we've got a lot of mapping classes coming up. Check out the events page, droneu.com. Scroll down, little wheel. click events, and then click learn more. And then you'll see all of our upcoming mapping trainings. We're doing Charleston. Well, as this is being played, we're probably having the Charleston mapping class. We're going to Las Vegas here very shortly. And then after Las Vegas, where are we headed to?
Orlando, Dallas, Seattle.
Wow.
And that's through May, so we'll probably come up with some cities beyond that.
I'm just like shocked. I'm going to be in 7 countries, 10 states by summer.
Oh, that's right, because Paul's going on a cruise.
Yep. Peace. On that bombshell, that's going to do it for us today. My name is Paul.
My name is Rob.
This is Ask Drone U.